Welcome back, everybody. Dribble and drive. We've got a lot to talk about. Normally, we just talk about some like hoops or something, but we've got college. We're getting into March Madness season. We got NBA and we got NFL free agency. So, yeah, let's get started. What do you want to start off with?
Yeah, it's turning up. Let's before we get into college, let's touch on the NBA because I feel
Word.
like we won't talk about this as much. So,
Very true.
uh obviously we have to talk about that Celtics Thunder game last night.
Yeah.
We were just saying like we feel like people discrediting the Thunder still. Like you turn on First Take and Perkins is like, yeah, they were missing Porzingis. Well, the Thunder were missing J-Dub too, like their all-star. So I know it's a matchup problem and Porzingis like would cancel out Chet, but I feel like there's you still got to give the Thunder credit. They swept the Celtics this year, the defending champs, and they beat them both times like decidingly. Like they were ahead in this game like the whole game.
Yeah, it was pretty convincing. Um, there there were definitely some runs. Like we looked pretty good up around halftime. Like we were up at half, and then they came out, kind of lit us up in both quarters in the second half. Was it a shooting thing really? Like I feel like we just went on some dry spells, and that really killed us. Jalen Brown, he didn't give us what we really wanted. 8 for 19. The,
No.
Brown, White, and Holiday were my negatives last night, and Missoula. I didn't love the defensive sets we were running. Like it looked like we were running a sort of zone, and it was just terrible. And I can't really even blame the players. I just don't like what Missoula had going on out there.
Yeah.
Holiday was taking a lot of the heat defensively. White, Jalen Brown, like the top of that zone. Shea was getting by. Casey Wallace was having whatever he wanted. Perfect catch and shoot looks. He was allowed to drive inside.
Isaiah
Um,
Joe.
Isaiah Joe, I mean, everybody on the Thunder played well except Aaron Wiggins. And, Wiggins, he was getting open looks. He just, or no, not, what am I? My bad. Give me 1 second. It gave me the wrong box score. But,
And
yeah,
Caruso wasn't playing either.
Caruso didn't play. Jalen Williams didn't play. But I mean, Wiggins was the only OKC Thunder player that, didn't have himself a night.
Yeah. And Lou Dort was everywhere defensively. It seemed like even though like he just plays so physical, that
Yeah,
guy.
he's great. And Mike Breen was talking about it. The announcers were talking about it. Like, don't doubt this guy. This guy can hit his threes. This guy can defend. He's physical. 3 for 8 last night from downtown. But I mean, yeah, you look at the box score. Aaron Wiggins was 0 for 9, and then everybody else balled out. Shea had a night. Got to the free throw line 11 times, hit 10 of them. Chet Holmgren on the boards, 15 rebounds. Casey
Yeah.
Wallace was a plus 13, 5 for
Like
6 from the field.
like I think if Chet's there or Porzingis is there, Chet's not grabbing 15, but that's still like pretty nuts. And you didn't get the greatest night from Pritchard either. He was
No.
kind of chucking bricks.
He
So
really was. Like even early on, the three, he was getting to it, but it wasn't falling. And it just wasn't one of those nights. Hauser was 1 for 4. Holiday was 1 for 7 from three. And Drew Holiday, I mean, we talked about his concerns before they really kind of broke out onto the scene. His 3-point numbers are down from over 40% down to like 34% right now. He like we talked about, he doesn't look the same defender as
yeah.
even last year. I mean, the injuries, you know, it's bound to
Yeah, there
happen.
was a
He's
few times Shea just flew right by him.
Exactly. And it was not inspiring to see if you're a Celtics fan. Obviously, again, we don't have Porzingis, but I mean, you got to play what's in front of you. They didn't have Jalen Williams. The Thunder were the better team last night.
Yeah, they've been decidingly both times, and like the Sam Presti and Mark Daigneault, they're both from Massachusetts, so every time they see Boston on the schedule, they're like, "Let's
Yep.
go!" Like
And I
this is
mean, the
yeah,
Celtics are the premier team in the NBA right now. They won the championship last year. They've been the best team for the past 3 or 4 years. And, Converse had Shea's logo lit up in Boston last night. And my response to that as a Boston Celtics fan, imagine we cared. Like, I think we're kind of unbothered by that. This is a regular season game. We've been through all this. Like I just said, we're the reigning champions. We know what's going on in the NBA. We're not worried. I mean, yeah. Are we wary of the rest of the NBA, especially the Thunder? Yeah. But this is a regular season game. Nothing has been won. Nothing has been proven. We're unbothered as Celtics fans.
yeah. But I mean, that is a statement win for the
Yeah.
Thunder. That like validates everything they got going into the playoffs there. I want to say, like, if we look at their recent form here, like, I'm pretty sure they're like 19-1 or something like that.
They're 8-2 in their last 10, so they're rolling.
Okay, yeah, no, maybe that was the Cavs I was looking at then.
I mean, they're
But
they're ridiculous.
yeah,
They're ridiculous. Like it's just getting better as the season goes on for them.
but yeah, I mean, the people complaining about the Shea foul baiting, I mean, some of them were foul baits, but I mean, I sent you that thing the other day. He's not shooting more free throws than Kobe did, so
No, it's his
I feel
game. I
like
mean,
people overplay it.
the best players play inside the rules. They bend the rules. They get what they can.
Yeah,
That's how you're the best. I mean, Shea is one of the best players in the league, the best scorer in the league we have right now. It's for a
I mean,
reason. It's not just because he knows how to get to the free throw line. That's a huge part of it. But
yeah,
I mean, as Celtics fans, there was a point in Tatum's career before he really hit the scene. We wanted him to get to the free throw line. We were like, all right, draw some fouls, get inside. This is exactly what Shea does. No matter what you do, fans are gonna hate. People are gonna find a way to, critique. He's doing exactly what he needs to do. And
yeah,
I,
and
I
he
get, I
played
get,
good. Sorry.
no, you're good. I get questioning like, oh, is he gonna be able to score in the playoffs without getting to the line? Yeah, he's gonna be fine.
Yeah. And like there were a few times like towards the end of that game there was a play where, they tried attacking Shea on defense like with Tatum and he just stripped Tatum. Like I feel like people don't give him enough credit on defense too.
No, they
So,
don't. I mean, he's second in the league in steals per game on
yeah,
the
and
best defense in the NBA.
I feel like he has like a block a game too where he just kind of comes flying out of nowhere. You're like, "Ooh, where did he come from?" So,
Right? He's a very, very impact defender. There's no way around that.
yeah, and
And then I
Caruso
mean,
not playing either. I think like that you're seeing that Thunder team, that's like a 75% Thunder team right there. So I mean, I feel like you can't underplay missing those two guys either.
mhm,
So
absolutely. And I mean, one thing I want to touch up, one last thing on the Celtics is that we aren't 100% either. Let's be real. I mean, Jaylen Brown, there's no way around that. I want to see more out of him. Joe Mazzulla, wasn't happy with him. Derek White. But I mean, Drew Holiday, he is banged up. Like he's coming out in and out of injuries. We don't have Porzingis. It wasn't our night. It wasn't
like
our night,
I wouldn't mind if they load manage
no,
Holiday the rest of the year. And
right?
then have you seen what's up with Porzingis? Like it's an unidentified viral illness. So like they don't know what's wrong with him or they're either like not releasing it.
What do you
So
think about that? I feel like, I mean, I'm not too worried about that.
I don't know. It's just like Porzingis. I feel like there's always something going on, whether if he's injured or illness. I mean, when he's
Yeah,
on the court, he's awesome, but it
incredible.
seems like there's always something.
I know he's the game breaker, but there's always something. And I was talking about this last night. Um, What do we do about this? Like, I know it's early to get into this conversation. It's very early. But what do we do about this? He has one more year after this year. He's a game breaker when he's on the court. He's amazing. But when he's not on the court, more often than not, regular season and playoffs, you got to keep him off the floor a lot. It, it's tough. It's a burden. It's definitely a burden. And then you have
Yeah.
Holiday, who's turning 35 before the next season begins. You know,
Yeah, I think if they were to move on for anyone, it would have to be Holiday
It
for me.
has to be. It has to be because he's the older guy.
Yeah, and if you make another run to the finals, say you don't even win it, but you make another run, and I mean last year they did that run without him, but if he plays for a majority of it, like I feel like you kind of have to keep it together and give it another shot because like
Yeah,
they
if you go to the
were,
finals, you can't move on, right?
yeah, I feel like I don't know. We've seen teams like try to get better and make moves like the Suns and stuff, and I just feel like I don't know, you got something good here.
I agree. I agree. I just sometimes I look at Holiday's contract and it bothers me. I'm not.
Yeah, you gotta hope they can like just draft and develop some guys like, Sam Hauser, he was an undrafted guy, kind of just fell in their lap and they developed him into a sh sharpshooter. So, I mean, I
Yeah,
think you just kind of gotta hope that something like that they can develop guys almost like the Warriors because the depth's gonna be a real problem.
Moses Moody's turned into a good guy for him. If we can make some draft picks, or for the Warriors, if we can make some draft picks like that,
Like pods and stuff, guys.
yeah,
I mean, he was like a high pick, but you know what I mean?
these
Like,
guys have turned into good rotational players for the Warriors. That's what
Mhm.
we need to do. But I don't want to get too deep into this conversation. I'll start talking about, moving on from Porzingis at some point. So I don't want to get
Yeah.
too deep into that. But yeah, and otherwise in the NBA, I mean, where are some trends? The Cavs are amazing. Um, in the last 15, the Pistons are 12 and 3. The Cavs are 15 and 0. It's
Wow.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
Um,
the Cavalanche. You see what I sent you
yeah,
there?
you just let them go down and then you bet them.
Yeah, like I I mean Ty Jerome, like just everyone is so good on that team. So I mean, I think once the playoffs come around, like they're a serious contender and like the Celtics, going back to them, they've lost a lot of big games at home this year. You go down the list just off the top of my head here. I can remember Memphis, you got beat pretty handedly. Thunder came in and beat you. Cavs came in and beat you when you're up 25. Like, I think like Celtics never play great at home. And like, I feel like they're under a lot of pressure, but I feel like people aren't playing this up enough. Like, you know what I mean?
We
Like,
were 30, we were 37 and 4 at home last year. This season, we are 23 and 12. 24 and 7 on the road though. We're dominant on the road. But we're flipping. We're flipping. We were dominant at home last year. We're not that great at home this year, but we are dominant on the road.
yeah, and obviously it's probably a little more because you're the champions. People are gunning for you. They're giving you your best shot every night. So
And who doesn't love to play in the Garden? I mean, it's Boston, it's the TD Garden, it's the Celtics. Everybody wants to play. It's like playing in the Lakers stadium on national TV. All of these games, when their premier matchups are on national television. Donovan Mitchell's the perfect example. That guy loves being in the Garden. He passed Jordan for the most points per game against the Celtics.
we got to talk about before we get to the Cavs too. We got to talk about that Celtics Lakers game.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely. I
that was
mean,
like the most watched like regular season game in like 7 years.
that's what we need in the finals, man. I don't know if we're gonna get it. That's what we want. That's what we need. I think it's a good matchup for the Celtics too, because that was without Porzingis. When LeBron kept calling out Horford, and Horford was dogging him. He was locking
Yeah,
him up, doing a really
looked
good
like
job multiple times.
he looked like he got some like shot of youth or something in him. He was moving good.
One
Yeah,
thing,
no
one
Porzingis and they beat him handedly. So.
right? I mean, and then you bring Porzingis out there. How are they gonna handle him? They have nobody to
Yeah,
guard Kristaps Porzingis.
I don't know what it is with Jaylen Brown. I feel like he always owns Luka Doncic. I don't know why.
He
Like,
does. He definitely does. It brings out the best in him. And, he didn't have his greatest game last night against the Thunder, but, maybe that didn't mean as much to him as the Lakers game did.
yeah. I mean, obviously going against LeBron and Nike and all that, like they hate each other. So I don't know. But yeah, I
Lakers,
mean,
Celtics. And like you said, the Luka thing, dude.
yeah. So I mean, that would be one hell of a series. Hopefully, I think the Celtics would win like in five. But and then also, so let's get back to the Cavs. Like the Cavs, I think like if when do they shut it down? Like when do they start to be like, all right, like let's see how many.
They don't have much remaining on their schedule. They have the Grizzlies tomorrow night, which I think you go for that. That's a big win, especially against a big team with JJJ and Edie. You can kind of test out different kind of matchups.
Yeah.
Um, Past that, they got the Pistons. They got the Knicks on April 2nd. They've proven themselves. They've proven themselves. They beat the Bucks. They beat the Celtics
Yeah,
on the road, both of them.
you got like an 8.5 game lead right now, and if you keep at this pace, shut them down for beginning of April. Give them 2 weeks rest before the playoffs, and then play them
Right?
35, 40 minutes a night.
And to talk a little bit more about the Cavs, I mean, you go through the rotation. They're so deep and they can do so much. They have Garland, they have Mitchell, obviously. Allen and Mobley, obviously. But what you can do with the starting rotations, you can start Strus and Hunter. You can start for shooting. If you need defense, you can start Hunter and Allen. You can do whatever you need between Hunter, Allen, and Strus, with those three stars.
Yeah, Hunter averaging 14 points a game. Like,
Lights out three-point shooting, lights out defense. That's the guy they needed, and he can create his own shot as well.
yeah, and he started a few games too, so I don't know. I doubt they're gonna keep doing that. I think that was because they were shorthanded, but
I
like
mean, it's whatever you need,
can
though.
step up. Yeah, like if someone goes down, he can easily slide in and beat them.
100%. I mean, it's injury, exactly like you said. If somebody goes down, he's there. But even if not, I mean, you need size, you throw Allen in there. You need some shooting, you throw Strus in there. You need some perimeter defense. Okay, DeAndre Hunter, go lock up the other team's best guy. Because Garland and Mitchell as that backcourt duo can be concerning defensively. But you have a guy like Hunter out there, I mean, it makes it easier to deal with, to say the least.
Yeah,
Um, And then they're so deep. They got legit guys off the bench. Ty Jerome, he's arguably the best second unit ball handler you want in the NBA at this point.
yeah.
Sam Merrill, he's a great shooter. And then one of those three guys that I mentioned, Strus, Hunter, or Allen, are also coming off the bench. Then you
And
got
then if
Dean
like one
Wade
of the
and Isaac
yeah,
Okoro,
I was gonna say you got Okoro sitting there if none of those guys are hitting shots. So
right? You got so many options.
yeah,
So, I mean, 15 in a row, 30 and 4 at home.
like they were putting up historical numbers. So
You can't really argue with what they've got. The only thing I'll play devil's advocate, if the Celtics are fully healthy, I may still take the Celtics.
yeah, just because you can't go against that experience.
Yeah, and I
But,
think the
like,
Celtics starting five is still overall better. Porzingis is such a game breaker.
did I send you the point differential thing?
No, maybe. What was it?
It was so like the best point differential like for a team in a season. Like right now, the Thunder are on pace. Like they have 12.5, which is like the best point differential in NBA history ever.
Yes.
And
Okay.
then the Cavs have like the like sixth or seventh in history. And like both of those rank above like the Celtics last season. So
So net rating,
I'm
right?
gonna send you this right now.
So the Celtics last year it was number one Boston with an 11.7, and I mean they blew away the number two team, Oklahoma City, who had 7.3. Let me
Here, I
see.
just sent it to you.
Bet. Well, that margin of victory is a regular season record. History suggests that level of dominance should translate to the playoffs. The previous top five teams in point differential, 72 Lakers, 71 Bucks, 96 Bulls, 17 Warriors, 24 Celtics, all coasted the titles with a combined 71 and 12 record in the postseason, not even faced a game seven en route to the championship. So, point differential in the regular season even does translate to playoffs.
So now
And
you
you
have the
have the
three.
Thunder and the Cavs at historical levels, and all the rest of the teams were amazing, coasted to the finals.
So this is going to be one hell of a playoffs, I think.
It
So
really is. It really is. And I mean, you look at that, the Celtics, they're at an 8.7 this year. So they're still better than, the second place team last year. But so it's crazy because those top two teams, I mean, the Thunder are a mile ahead and the Cavs are a mile ahead of anybody else. And then the Celtics are a mile ahead of the Grizzlies in fourth place. So these top three teams in the NBA, they've really distanced themselves.
yeah. So these are all like three historically great teams that are like
And
that
then, I
are
mean, two teams that I'll give a little bit of a pass. The Lakers have a 1.7 and the Warriors have a 2.2. Obviously, they've made insane moves,
yeah,
but they're not at the level we're talking about with these Thunder and the Cavs.
no.
That's incredible. In the
And
last 15, the Warriors have a 10.2 net rating. That's something to mention, but not to get too off track, not to get too off
what's
track.
what's their recent form?
So they're amazing. They're 12 and 3 in their last 15, and Butler didn't play in one of those games, so they're, I believe, 12 and 2 without Jimmy Butler,
Wow.
or with Jimmy Butler. He hasn't been like amazing, but he had a 25-point game. He's playing defense. He's a playmaker. I mean, they were already a top 10 defense, and since they've gotten Butler, they've been a top 5 defense. In the last 15, they're the number 5 offense, the number 4 defense, and the number 4 team overall. So they're in that top 5. Um, they've been really good. And
So
Steph's broken out. He's had 50 in a game. He's had 40. Like before that trade or when that trade happened, a lot of people were down on it, but I was like, I don't know. I love Jimmy Butler. I love Steph Curry. I know they're old, but like Curry with another ball handler, another guy to take pressure off of him. I think he's still amazing. I think he's still a top five player in the NBA. I'd argue top four. I'd argue top three. I'd argue more than that. I think he's
yeah,
amazing. And Jimmy Butler, we know what he is. He brought two teams to the finals that didn't belong there in the past 5 years. He's older, but I mean, he's a dog.
yeah. And looking at it, they're working their way up the playoff. Like right now, they're actually in a playoff. They're the sixth seed. So they
And
the Rockets, they've won four straight, but they got a 3 game lead. So they're creeping right behind them, and
Yes.
literally like the 2 through 5 seed in the West is separated by a game. So like
Yeah.
it's gonna be an
I
absolute dogfight.
I mean, these are all going to be about matchups. The Grizzlies all of a sudden are the two seed. The Lakers were the two seed what it seems like 5 minutes ago, and the Nuggets what seems like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah,
And then the Rockets are one game out of it. And
yeah,
I mean, all right, so you bring up the stats. Teams that are teams that have a winning record against winning teams, so 500 and above. The Cavs, the Celtics, the Pacers.
you see they beat the Knicks the other night.
The
That
Pacers, I want to talk about
crazy
them in a
Halliburton
minute. I
shot.
want to I want to talk about the Pacers in a minute because I have some good things to say about them. And then the Thunder also have a positive record. The Lakers and the Rockets. That's it. Those are the six teams.
Okay.
So the Rockets and Pacers are in some pretty good company there with four teams that everybody calls contenders. They're still young. They still lack a lot. The Rockets, they're young. I don't believe in them. I'm sorry. But the
Yeah.
Pacers, they're basically the same team that went to the conference finals, plus Benedict Mathurin off the bench, who's a dog, and he thinks he's the best player on that team. He said it himself. He's a scorer, he's a shooter, he's a defender. He gives you exactly what you need if you're the Pacers. They're still not good enough defensively. Like even in their last 15, their defense is 17th, and overall throughout the year, their defense is 17th. So the defense isn't very inspiring, but offensively, I mean, they're
Yeah.
pretty good.
Out of everyone in the playoffs, they allow the most points. So
Yeah, that's what kills them. But their offense, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, he's a really good scorer and playmaker to have at your one. You got Neesmith and Nemhard. Those are really good 3-and-D guys who bring energy. Siakam is a really good player. Turner's a really good player. Mathurin's a good player. You got guys like TJ McConnell. He's another guy like Ty Jerome. You want him leading your second unit. And you got
yeah,
guys like Obi Toppin and guys, who can step in and play some minutes.
I think their X factor is definitely Miles Turner. Like
You think?
when he shows up and like he's making shots, like that's a game changer for them when they have that third scoring option, like
Because
where like they don't have to rely on Nemhard and Mathurin.
Yeah. And
So
I mean, Miles Turner, he's a lot like Porzingis in how his length, his shooting, he does everything. He protects the rim, he can step out onto perimeter defenders, and then on offense, he can knock down the three from wherever. And then he can, take mismatches and body guys, post up smaller
yeah,
defenders. He's
he's
great.
one he's one guy who worked his way out of trade talks. You remember he
Yes.
was in every trade talk, like known to mankind, like Miles Turner to this team, to this team. Like everybody wanted him, but then like it seemed like nobody wanted to pay what the Pacers wanted, so they just kept him and he's kind of developed. So
Yeah. And it's interesting because I don't think he's a guy that's holding them back. You look at this Pacers team and you're like, all right, what do they need to do? I don't know. I mean, you've got a really good floor, but what's that ceiling? Like, what do they need to do? Like, is it is there kind of not that much you can do? Like, this is a really good team.
yeah, I think you just give it time. Like all
I
these guys are so young.
Yeah. How
They can,
much better do they get though,
yeah, that's the
Like
problem.
if Mathurin can turn into an all-star, that's a different conversation. I don't know if Mathurin's going to turn into an all-star.
Yeah,
If he
but
did,
game changing.
yeah. Who knows what they can do? I think they could, cause some trouble. I'm not gonna say the Cavs are that team that you're like, oh, like could they be upset by the Bucks or the Pacers? I'm thinking, I'm thinking like they're gonna be that team, but no, they're not.
No,
They're amazing. They're
maybe the
amazing.
Knicks.
So
Maybe
it's in the Knicks. The
uh,
Knicks,
here. Hold up. I wanted to get to. Have you seen the Timberwolves recently? I saw
yo,
this. I
they've
saw this.
won. They've won their last six,
Yeah, they've won their last six, and they've the last 11 games Julius Randle has played. They're 11-0.
and he's been starting, right?
Yeah,
So they figured it out. They
yeah. So
figured it out.
the Timberwolves are coming on, as everyone else is in the West, but
But they're one of those teams that, they're not too young like the Rockets. They don't have like a glaring weakness like, maybe the Lakers do at center or somewhere else. The Nuggets don't have the depth that the Timberwolves do. The Timberwolves are probably better than the Grizzlies. So they could
Yeah,
make a case for the second best team in the West.
100%.
With the potential they've had, and they've been that team all season that neither of us have been willing to give up on because the potential on both sides of the ball. You have a guy in it. You have tremendous role players in depth with Randall and Reed and all these guys, McDaniels. Um,
They just smoked the Nuggets last night, like
they've got
handedly.
quality wins. They beat the Thunder. They beat the Nuggets, like you just said.
Yeah. So this is another team you don't want to get see in a playoff series,
You do
100%.
not. No. Um, I don't know what to think about the Grizzlies because I don't know. I mean, is there anything else we want to talk about the Timberwolves? Like, where else could we go with that? Because they're a team that are like they're good. Like, I don't know what else I can say about them besides that. Okay, they're one of the contenders in the West. I think there's six. How many do you think there is?
Uh, let me pull it up here. Like I would say there could even be more. Like let's see.
The Thunder and the Nuggets, the
I,
Lakers.
okay, I would have said seven if Dallas was still healthy.
Me too.
No, it's six. You're right.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was seven with Dallas, but they're not. They're done.
And
So
I'd say there's like tiers to the contenders too. Like tier one is definitely like Oklahoma City, LA, and then like you could argue Golden State, Minnesota. Then I feel like the next tier is like Memphis and Denver. Like I just feel like Denver, I don't know. They haven't looked great. Like yeah, you have Jokic, like he's great, and you're just gonna have to probably go 6 or 7 games to beat him. But I don't know.
my thing with Denver is that Jamal Murray's been spectacular. Jokic is Jokic. And then Gordon and Porter are shooting 40% from three this season. Like, as much as people want to talk about, oh, they're not the same, they're both shooting 40% from three this season, as are Jokic and Murray. So those four are incredible. Past
Then
that, that's where the questions start to happen. Christian Brownie's good, but Russell Westbrook, and then the next guys are Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson, Jalen Pickett.
yeah,
That's where the concern is. And Zeke Naji, I mean, Naji can give you some good minutes and then he can give you some really bad minutes.
yeah. I don't know like about that second unit at all. Like they
No,
might
that's the
get
thing.
second round.
But that starting five with Jokic, I mean, you can't count him out. And that's why I say there's six contenders. And the Grizzlies is like, I mean, we know what they can be, but is this the year? It hasn't looked like it. Like Ja, he's not shooting the three well. JJJ just got hurt. He's been phenomenal, but he just got hurt. Bane, I mean, I feel like a few years ago we maybe had this outlook of Bane as like by now maybe he'd be an all-star. He's still Desmond Bane, which is good, but he's
Yeah,
not like that next level of Desmond Bane. Maybe there just isn't another level of Desmond Bane.
like an Andrew Wiggins kind of thing. Like he's just as
Yeah.
good as
Like he's not locking down guys on the perimeter. He's not, which you mentioned the wingspan. Like there's not a lot
yeah.
of potential for that. He's a shooter.
Yeah, like he's a good probably shooting guard where like sometimes he's playing the small forward and he's definitely undersized.
Like is he Bradley Beal?
But like Bradley, I don't know.
You know what
I
I'm
don't
saying? Like not even Bradley Beal.
I barely watch Bradley Beal to be honest.
Like just a guy who can shoot and score.
Yeah.
Like how
Like
much more can he do? And like how much do you
yeah,
want to pay that guy?
like is he a good third option or is he just like would he be a really good role player? Like
That's what I'm kind of saying. Like I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird there. But the rest, yeah, the West is the Thunder on top with the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Grizzlies, Warriors, and Timberwolves. Those five after the Thunder. I mean, I don't want to count either of those teams out. And I mean, all of a sudden, the Clippers look good when they're healthy. I don't want to get into that too much because what are the chances we see Kawhi Leonard healthy in a playoff series? It's probably not going to happen.
Clinton on
However,
you got a better chance in the lottery probably.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So I don't even want to. And then the Rockets are young, although they are one of the six teams in the NBA with a winning record against winning teams. So that's something.
Yeah.
We've got 6 minutes left on this, so if we want to just finish it out with NBA, maybe.
Yeah, I
What
don't know.
else is there?
Let's see. Uh I guess we could talk about the Bulls because I kind of like what's going on in Chicago.
Okay.
They
Josh
aren't,
Giddey's looking good.
yeah, like they aren't. Maybe they don't make the playoffs this year. They're the 10 seed right now, so they're last in the play-in with a 4.5 game lead. So they'll probably end up making the play-in, which is like where they were last year, and they moved on from all these guys. So they're just as good as they are with like out DeMar DeRozan, without Zach LaVine. And Kobe White's really stepped up. He's good. Maybe they move Vucevic over the summer, get some picks. They should have a lottery pick. Maybe get lucky, get move up a little bit, top three. But I think like Giddy, he's like a very good player on his own. Don't be hating on Giddy.
No,
They kind of overpaid Patrick Williams. He kind of has isn't all
he
that.
hasn't panned out
No.
at
But
all.
like I don't know. Like you got Lonzo. Like I don't know. But I like Kobe White, Giddy, Io, DeSumo, and like Trey Jones. They got some solid Matas Buzelis, like
Who's
the guy
been
they just
good?
like he's gonna be good. Like when he gets his game, like he has the body to be so good.
He
So
does. Let's talk about Josh Giddey for a second. 38% from three this season after starting his career from 34%, 33%, 26%. So he's gotten better in that aspect. Good for him. That's kind of what you needed from him. 7 assists per game. Not much to complain about from that dude. Eight rebounds.
yeah,
He's pretty good. He's pretty good. He was kind of that odd man out in Oklahoma City. Just didn't work. Just didn't fit. But him and Matas Buzelis,
yeah,
um, Buzelis he's been decent. Nothing that really stands out, but he's a, top 10 pick, borderline top 10 pick rookie. So,
yeah. And he's getting playing time, and I think he's just gonna get better and better. And hopefully the shooting just comes along.
definitely.
Uh, Also like Kobe White, he's averaging 19 a game.
He's a
Like,
baller. He's a baller.
yeah, he's like,
Um, he needs to be a good defender because if he could become a really good defender, he could be a really good NBA player.
yeah, he's only 25 years old. Like, this guy could actually be an all-star in a few years.
Definitely. He like a Derek White type player. I think he's smaller, but he can really create his own shot. If he can just knock down, he can play make. If he can just knock down threes and defend, that's a guy that teams are going to be dishing out a max contract to.
100%. Like, I'm looking at his height. It says he's 6'5". I don't think he's that tall, right? He's got to be like 6'3".
Yeah,
Like,
I
maybe
completely
his
agree.
hair helps him out. I don't know.
Yeah. Because like he brings some size, but he's a smaller player. So it's like it's weird.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how you're gonna feel about this, but a team that I need to talk about. Just give me 1 second to pull up something. Um, Not even a team, a player. Just let me. Season leaders.
Pelicans?
Us. No, not. I will talk about them. I'm down to, but all right. So you look at the league leaders in assists. Trae Young averages 12 assists per game. Nikola Jokic is next with 10. Cade with 9. Halliburton with 9. Harden with 9. Like Young stands out. I know he's inefficient. I know he's not a good defender, but he's on a bad team, and you don't want him for your defense. I think the dude's phenomenal. You look at some of his resume. He was All NBA in 2022, extremely efficient. The dude leads the league in assists every year. He's a hell of a scorer, a hell of a shooter with a team around him. I mean, people want to talk about how, like, okay, he's the 547th out of 547 players. He's the worst paint defender in the league. But like he's a 6'1" point guard. Like get him a good team and we'll see what he can be. He
Yeah.
had that run in 2021. 2023 he stole games against the Celtics. He had that cold buzzer beater. I think he's good. I think Trae Young is a really good player. He could be a second option on a championship team with the right defense and shooting around him, with the right, star above him.
The team I wish would go after him right now is the Orlando Magic because I mean you look at it on paper, they have the best defense in the league. They allow the fewest amount of points. So if a team would be able to take them on that would be able to handle it, I feel like it would be that team of all teams. And that would just free up Franz and Paulo a little bit more. They could just pass. Or they could worry about just catching and shooting as Trey makes everyone's life easier. So I think that's got to be the spot. And they would become like an instant top four seed, I think, in the East, 100%.
With Trey and Paolo on the same team, and I mean, do you think they keep Franz?
Yeah, I think they could get that deal done without Franz either. Because
Just
I
got to give
think
up a lot of draft capital, maybe a young player.
Anthony Black
Yeah.
maybe or Suggs if you have to. Th a few picks. Um, I don't know, whatever you want. I mean, that just makes KCP's life a little bit easier. That makes everyone's life so much easier. So
Dude, think about this starting five. Trey Young, KCP, Franz, Paolo with the right center. I mean, we Franz isn't shooting the three well. We know he can shoot the three. Paolo, he's not shooting the three well, three ball well. We know he can do it. And then KCP, he's not doing it, but he's a 3-and-D guy. That'd be the perfect starting five.
so I'll let you start with the contenders.
Okay, bet. So, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, but the teams I think we really got to watch out for are Duke, Houston, Auburn, Florida, Bama, St. John's.
Yeah, those SEC teams, but you see like an hour like literally an hour ago, like Cooper Flag just went down. Like did you see it?
I saw it, and he returned to the bench, but he's out for the game.
Yeah, so I mean if he's done, I don't think Duke's a contender.
No, not without Flag. I mean, he's their team, but I don't think he's done. I mean, long shot for ACC semis.
Yeah, they'll still be a one or two
Yeah,
seed.
they're going to
But
be good. But, I mean, it's an ankle injury. This isn't his first injury, right?
no. And like he's cramped up before, but I think he grabbed a rebound, came down on someone. So
Okay. Hmm.
it
Yeah, I
looked
mean,
it looked
it's
pretty
not what
bad.
you want to see. It's not what you want to see.
Yeah. And like that's a team that like I don't know, they haven't been tested much. Like they play in a weaker conference this year, so like I mean they'll get through round one, but anything after that without Flag, I'd be seriously concerned.
Absolutely. I mean, they're 28-3. He's their best player. You know, they got teams right there. There's a bunch of 27-4s. The teams that I just mentioned outside of Alabama are all 27-4. Michigan State and Tennessee, they've got 5-6 losses. So there's teams
Yeah,
right there. They are not like they're the number one team in the country, but without Cooper Flag, they're not.
no, they need him. So that would be imagine like they get the number one seed, but like he's ruled out, like or he's like, oh, I don't want to. Like, will he pull a Durkak? Will he go play on the injured ankle, or will he just sit out and be like, you know what, like I gotta save my draft stock?
It depends how bad it is. It depends how bad it is because he can't go in there and chance his career. How
No,
much money would he be putting on the line? Generational wealth
yeah.
plus a million.
Who knows what the salary cap will be in 5, 10 years?
Yeah, I mean he's gonna
Yeah.
break the bank, assuming, he stays on track.
So,
That's disgusting money. Hundreds of millions of dollars he's putting on the line. You don't do that. You don't do that.
no. So,
But I mean, if it's a sprained ankle, not risking too much.
so
No.
if Duke's not in there, like who would your other would you go Florida or Bama as the next team after
In the
Auburn?
in the SEC,
Any league.
I mean Houston and Auburn.
Yeah.
Houston and Auburn are pretty good.
Like the all those like metrics where they look at and they're like, oh, only teams with like top 25 offensive rating and they have to be like top 50 in the defensive. And there's only like six or seven teams I saw in there. And it was
Yeah.
all the teams we just mentioned. And then there was like a few that like were kind of fringe, like Iowa State, Marquette, but you're kind of like, I don't know 100%. Like Iowa State, I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna look at the score because that game was going on when we were talking about this. But Iowa State was down to BYU. BYU, they lost. Yeah, they lost by four. This was a team like at the start of the year that, they were top 10 in the country. I mean, they're still a top 25 team, but they kind of had some losses that you like a little head scratching. So
Definitely. Yeah, it's a weird place right now.
I think like you'll see it. This is going to be one of the hardest March Madness to pick with like,
Yeah.
and like, I don't know how you feel about tournament expansion at all, but like, I
They
think
haven't done it yet, right?
no, they haven't. But
I don't think you need to.
like all the teams on the fringe right now are just like barely tournament teams, you know? Like I feel
Yeah.
like if all these teams were in it, like it would just kind of diminish the
You don't
product.
need all that. I mean, you have teams like Merrimack, even in the current, how it currently is. Like teams like Merrimack have a chance, have a really good chance to make it. We don't need it any more expanded.
No. And you're looking at all these teams uh there's already been a few teams that have punched their ticket, you know, like notable teams that I'd be on the lookout for, like McNeese, Lipscomb, High Point, Drake. Like I think those four mid majors that all punched their ticket already, like they could be upset material. So, you know, High Point, all these teams have really good offenses and like if like Drake, they ran through that conference, like they dominated with that coach from D2. They've just been running it up on teams. Like half his team from D2 transferred there and they still dominated a D1 conference. So it's you can't look too far away, but it's always hard predicting these upsets. But like, did you watch the NEC the other night?
No,
So it was like Central Connecticut versus St. Francis. And it was probably one of the worst offensive games you'll ever witness.
really.
The final score was like 46 to 43, something like that.
Oh,
It was like the NEC championship last year, but
that's
like
disgusting.
Central Connecticut won 15 straight coming in and they lost in the championship. So it just goes to show you that like anything can happen this time of year.
Right? Yeah, I mean, teams are not safe. Like the NEC was such a weird conference because, as Merrimack, I mean, we dominated that conference in a way, and then we just lose our best player, and there it goes, and Wagner goes, and they don't even win their first four. Did they win their first four game? They did, right? And they played North Carolina.
Yeah, and they got smoked. Yeah,
Killed. I mean, we put up a better competition against North Carolina than Wagner. It's literally
100%.
all because our best player got injured. If Durkak doesn't get hurt, we blow that conference out of the water. CCSU is a good competitor, but we blow that conference out of the water, and then we go and at least put a better showing on in
Yeah.
March Madness.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see Central Connecticut try to leave that conference because that's a conference that like Bryant was in it, they left. You know what I mean? Like it seems like a lot of schools are moving up into that conference out of D2 and then they want to get out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I mean, it's kind of brutal. You don't want to
Yeah.
be in the NEC.
So like that game last night, the Merrimack game, what was your feelings on it? I mean, that was like a roller coaster.
I mean, same thing for me, really. If Becht is producing and Devon Savage is giving you some threes, if Brian Atumnu's knocking down his threes and blocking shots, we're a tough team to beat. Sean Trumper, when he's playing his best minutes,
Yeah.
it's hard to beat Merrimack. Bug Clark, he's gonna do his thing. I mean, even yesterday when last night he wasn't getting it going as a scorer, particularly as well as he does early. Um,
But
10
he got
assists.
10 assists.
10
Yeah.
assists, right? And that's possible when Matt Becht and Devon Savage are knocking down their threes.
Yeah.
And Matt Becht, on the defensive side of the ball, he's stealing it. Um,
He
and
played
then
his best game as Merrimack Warrior. 100.
exactly, and that's exactly what we need. We need our guys to step up when it really matters in the biggest moments. Obviously last year we got super unlucky with the injuries, but this year we could be a tournament team this year, even after losing our best player to Big Ten.
Yeah. No, I mean just 2 wins away. So, I mean this would be one of those like the hockey team getting knocked out last night. I mean this would be like the biggest thing. Like this would be a sick way to end the school year.
Right, the biggest thing on campus. Everybody's going to be at that game, even the
And
hockey fans.
I don't know like with like some of the bid stealers now, if we do win this conference, we would probably move into like a 15 seed now. I'm gonna maybe guess. I'm not it depends on like how some of these tournaments go.
And
Because if like
we may have to play a first four game, right?
we might, but like honestly, that's like more fun. Like, wouldn't you
It
want
is.
like
Yeah,
because
but I mean, I'd also
you're
rather
playing
just
a
go to
very
March.
you're playing a very winnable game where like I don't know if you're getting hyped for the round of 64 game, you're probably getting pummeled.
That's
So
true. That's true. That is true.
I saw us match up against Houston, which out of all the best teams, I mean, you would take an injured Duke team 100%
Oh,
like all day.
definitely. You don't want to play Houston.
But then Houston, those guys, I mean, they hit the offensive rebounds, and you know how we are on the rebounds.
That wouldn't be a good matchup. I mean, even
But they're
last
not a
night.
great, they're not that great of a shooting team. So I think like that's the one. Like if our shooters make shots and Bud's cooking, like that's one game where we could have a long shot chance. So
It is, but I mean, it's gonna be tough. Like you said, those rebounds. I mean, we got killed on the rebounds last night by, um,
see that guy had like 10 minutes into the game.
yeah, dude. I think a dude had 20 rebounds on the other team.
Yeah,
It's not what you want to see if you're Merrimack, but yeah. Like, I'm just gonna throw the hat on. Bad
yeah,
hair day, but what's it called? I just I don't love our chances against any team. I think an injured Duke team, like you said, is probably the
our
matchup
best
we want to
shot.
draw. It's probably
Yeah.
what we want to draw.
I mean, how cool would that be if we're sitting there when we get back to school and like we're watching the selection show, like ready to fucking go.
Yeah.
Like that would be so fun, man.
That's what we need. That's what we need. You know, it's
I
gonna be
wouldn't be.
tough. It's gonna be a tough road. We got to get through Marist / Mount St. Mary's and then Quinnipiac.
Yeah,
It's
and
not an easy road. And
I'm
then the
pulling
Final Four game.
pulling for Maris to win that game,
You
and then
okay? RG was saying that too. You'd rather play Marist?
yeah, we played Mount once this year, and they came to our place and kind of beat us pretty handedly.
I remember that.
So, and considering how we just whooped Marist, I think we can do it again. Like that first game versus Marist, we lost by like a point, and I think we should have won that game easily. We put up maybe 50 points, one of the worst offensive performances. So I think, we can take that Marist team, and then, I mean, you can't control anything. You never know what can happen, but you hope this Quinnipiac team just gets knocked off because you beat them last time, but I don't know. They're going to be out for vengeance, and that's a good team. They
Yeah, they
rebound the
are.
ball well.
They got
So,
Amari Monroe, the dude Paul down low. They're good. But I mean, Marist, they do have that dude Josh Pasquarelli. That dude's a baller. 16 points per game,
yeah.
41% from three.
I know. And he had his worst game of the year against us last game, so I don't think that's happening again.
I mean,
So,
hey, maybe we have a good defensive strategy for him. I wouldn't count it out. I wouldn't count Joe Gallo out.
yeah.
He's
And the
amazing.
magic number is just like Merrimack needs to shoot like 30% from three. If we can shoot 30%, force like 15 turnovers, which is, what they normally do, and they don't turn the ball over, like that's all it literally takes. And then whatever you get from Bud is extra. You know what I mean? Like
100%. Because
points.
Bud's gonna do his thing. They're gonna try and take him away. If we knock down the threes, though, that opens up
Yeah.
everything. It gets points on the board. It opens the floor up for Bud. And
And
I mean, Brian
Tunu's,
Atumnu, dude. Brian
yeah,
Atumnu.
defensive
That
player of the year.
dude's been phenomenal. They counted him with 3 blocks last night. I'm pretty sure he had four. I
the
saw
game
four.
the game winning play, taking that charge.
Yeah, I mean
You know,
that is a Marcus Smart winning basketball play.
he's yeah, him and Trump are both do it. I mean, they're dirty, they get in there, they don't mind. And like a Tunu, he plays the whole game. Like he doesn't come out and he just still is always jumping up and down, never out of energy, which is unbelievable. So
The threes have started to go down for him, but that's not even the most impressive part of his game this season. I think the defensive strides he's taken, the rim protection he's done. I mean, he went from a guy who I'm like, okay, he's a good player to have, to a guy that I'm all of a sudden worried about losing.
yeah,
He's a
no.
good basketball player. That is a good Division 1 basketball player all of a sudden.
He
And
won
he's been good, but he's great now.
defensive player of the year in two different conferences. That's not an accident. He's a special player.
And like I said last year, I mean, I didn't think he was as good as he is right now.
He's
He's made
always
improvements.
he's been the unsung hero and he's just quiet.
You
Goes
know,
about
doesn't say a word. And
yeah,
dude, the three ball edition, I didn't even get into that too much. I mean, what was he, 2 for 2 from three last night?
yeah.
The
At the
dude,
beginning of the year he'd take one every few games. Now like he's second he gets an opening, he's keeping that defense honest, which is, you know, that's what helps free Bud to get to the rim. So
all right. I mean, he threw down a crazy oop from Bod on a lob last night. The dude's been good.
yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Uh,
I think I think we can win this conference. Quinnipiac's going to be a tough draw. Even before that, we're going to be tested. But
yeah.
Matt Becht and Devon Savage, if you guys come, I mean, you guys have been great. Your 3 point shooting. valuable.
Becht redeemed himself last night, with those huge free throws. Early in the year he missed one to like win the game. So like that was huge to see him knock down those two to ice the game, put the game away, 4-point lead. So team's hitting their
Absolutely.
stride at the right time, which is good to see.
I wanna. So Purdue, that getting a little bit of the Merrimack conversation, but Purdue,
Yes.
they're the 20th team in the country right now. But there was this stat that like there's only 6 teams who fit the formula, and
Yeah,
they're one
they're
of
in it.
them. They're one
Yeah.
of them. Let me see. I have it right here.
Yeah, they're a shooting team. I
They're
mean,
only
that team like loves playing at home. Like they beat anyone at home. So like I don't know how well they will convert to the tournament. We'll see. But they've gotten better as the year went along. Like they were ranked at the beginning of the year, and then they kind of had a disappointing start. They got smoked by Marquette. They had a few other big losses, and then all of a sudden they've had this like resurgence second half of the year. So
Yeah,
they're
but
definitely someone to not write off.
definitely not. But yeah, they're kind of in that. I mean, there's Duke, there's Houston, there's Bama, there's Florida, there's Auburn, and then who? I mean, those are 5 elite teams. Who else? I mean, St. John's.
I don't know if I like St. John's
You
all too
don't
just because they don't score the ball too well. So like I feel like,
sailing,
a bad team that can score a lot, that might be a bad matchup for them,
definitely.
so yeah, they're definitely one of those teams like they put up 66, they're kind of like Merrimack to put up 60, 70 points and shoot a lot of free throws and they aren't great at it. So, that
Yeah.
those they normally play like really close games. So,
Yeah. For college basketball, what else do we got? We got any other trends we want to get into? Um, let me
yeah,
see.
let's see. Gonzaga, definitely I saw a chart um talking about like bringing going to the tournament and bringing back experience from last season, continuity, guys playing together like over the years. And one of the highest continuity teams was Gonzaga, and that like it correlates a lot in the tournament. So I think Gonzaga, even though like they haven't played the strongest schedule, and I think they still, they beat St. Mary's in the championship. St. Mary's gave them probably one of the better fights they've had in recent memory. So, like, I think Gonzaga is the real deal this year, and they could, definitely go Sweet 16 for sure.
Okay. How about North
They're not a
Carolina?
fluke.
Can they do anything? RJ
Uh,
Davis.
I don't think they should be in the tournament.
Yeah, I kind of was surprised to see them.
Yeah, no,
Um,
just like they, I think I'm gonna pull up their quadrant rankings. Do you know how the quads work?
I don't.
So there's four quads.
Okay.
And um they rank like pretty much a team's like wins and losses. So like a team that ranks like top 75, like that would be like Q1, and then like 75 through 150 would be Q2, 150 to 250 would be like Q3, and then 250 upwards would be like Q4. So it pretty much ranks like your wins and losses. So like, and if you look at North Carolina's, like I'm gonna say they're like 1-8 in Q1. So when they play like the best teams, so like they're
How? Yeah.
yeah,
Huh.
they're 1-11
Yeah.
versus Q1. So all their wins come against not strong teams,
Yeah. So I mean,
and they
kind of
haven't beat
uninspiring.
good teams.
And they're not the
And
same team they've been the past few years. They don't have Baycott.
no, and what's his name? Jordan Love went to
Yes.
Arizona,
Oh, this is actually something I wanted to talk about. Half the time I turn on college basketball late at night, I'm watching an Arizona game. And I've been you know, he's a hooper. I love Caleb Love. I love watching Caleb Love play. Arizona's 20 and 11, 14 and 6 in the conference. They're not Houston, but I
but
mean,
the for some reason the advanced metrics absolutely love him. I
I
don't know
love watching them. I love watching them. I love betting them. I don't know if it's just because of my Caleb Love bias, because the dude's a hooper. We watched him at UNC. The dude's phenomenal sometimes. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, they just lost a very tight one to BYU. That was a bit ago. They're not. They lost to Kansas. I
That
don't know.
you know how we were talking earlier in the year, like Big 12, Big 10
Yeah,
flipped. I think the Big 12's better.
yeah. All of a
Yeah, like
sudden,
BYU, Arizona, Iowa State, Kansas, even though they've kind of fallen off a little bit, Houston, Texas Tech. I mean,
Iowa State's a team.
yeah, you got like six top 25 teams arguably, and then Baylor, they've kind of had a disappointing year, but they're one of the last teams in right now, so they'll be a tournament team. Like I think the Big 12 could really make some noise. So, um, as opposed to like the Big 10, I feel like Michigan State or Maryland, even though they've been good recently, I feel like they can they could drop a game. You know what I mean? They've lost some not so great games this year. So, uh, like UCLA, I feel like they're weak.
They're kind of like I don't believe in UCLA anymore. I mean, that was a few years ago. This year,
Yeah, like their coach is like kind of a piece of work.
yeah.
So,
Um, who who could be some mid majors that could make some noise? Anybody?
yeah, I would say High Point, they score a lot of points.
Okay.
So I think like High Point could really make some noise. Uh, yeah, let's see. Like last year they were first, but they ended up losing their conference tournament, so you didn't see them in the tournament. But this is like their first tournament program history. They've kind of had some good seasons in the past, so I think they'll probably be like a higher mid-major seed, so they could face like a 3, 4, 5 seed, maybe catch like a weaker one. I wouldn't be shocked if you see that. Um, a team that Merrimack actually beat this year, Troy. They've actually like had a good second half of the year. Um, they're making they won the Sun Belt. Yeah, they won the Sun Belt, and I don't know. I don't. That's just another team to look out for. They've
Okay.
gotten better. Uh, let's see. Definitely not NEC. Uh, this SIU Edwardsville, they'll probably be a 16 seed. They were making their first. That was the coach talking about with the scissors. They've been waiting 6 years to do it. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what college basketball is all about.
Right?
Like,
Like remember when we were in that kind of stage? Like we had that one year, I think, where we won the NEC, and then the next year, yeah, so did it ha all right, so my freshman year, Jordan Miner, Jordan Durkak, Ziggy Reed, Javon Bennett, we won the NEC and didn't get our chance to advance.
that
Didn't
FT,
that happen before too? Wasn't that the second time that happened?
like a team wasn't allowed in.
Yeah, with like Merrimack.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so that happened twice, unless it only happened once. And then my sophomore year last year, Durkak got hurt, screwed us. We were going to March Madness. We
Conference
were
player of
we
the
were
year.
going to March. Yeah, the dude was phenomenal, out of this world, and he was defensive. He's a hell of a defender as well. And we had Bud Clark as that second option. We were special last year. We were going to March Madness if it wasn't for injury.
I know. I wonder where this dude will transfer to. Man, I don't want to see him leave, but I don't blame him. He's that good.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah.
also we got to bring up, since you brought up Dirk Hack, we got to bring up Rutgers. How disappointing of a season that is.
They were getting slapped last night when I turned it on.
And now, they talked to Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, and they were like, we realized we had a disappointing season, but we can change all that, and didn't look like it was.
No, no.
So, I mean, I think honestly, Dylan Harper's like going to be a top three pick, but Ace Bailey, I mean, he's shown flashes and he's got the body, but he's got some development to do. So,
True. But I mean, is he going to be better? Like I've seen the Michael Porter Jr. comparison thrown out, and I agree with it. There's a huge difference between being Michael Porter Jr. and being Jason Tatum. What do you see more out of him?
I see him as like Bailey or Harper.
Bailey,
Probably almost like a Mobley. Would you
Mobley,
agree?
really?
Yeah. Maybe he's a little
Hmm.
smaller than Mobley. He's not as
Well, yeah, I was thinking more of like, okay, maybe not even the floor. I mean, you kind of want him to be a Michael Porter Jr. Like he just shoots the ball and he brings size. Um,
yeah. He's definitely more athletic and quicker than Mobley.
and then that's where like the Jason Tatum thing comes in is like, could he be Jason Tatum? He's the number one prospect. He is a tough shot maker. He's a shooter. He's got size.
Yeah.
I don't see him being Jason Tatum, but I also kind of see more than Michael Porter Jr. I don't think he's like Mobley though. I don't think he has the defensive upside.
Yeah, but like the body just kind of reminds me of what it
Okay.
let's see who else.
Dylan Harper, I mean, I don't know. I've seen a lot of really good draft prospect ratings out of him. I don't know. I don't know. I've watched him. He's good. I don't
Yeah,
know. Didn't he get cooked last night for that? Like, I don't know if it was a game winner. He got cooked on a really important basket.
I think so. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
a
like he was completely out of position, just getting ran to the basket, just got finished over with like Bailey inside. It's like, what are we doing?
yeah. Like aren't you
Yeah.
supposed to be a top three pick?
That's what I'm thinking. And wasn't his defense a big part of it? Unless I'm tripping.
Yeah.
No, he's like 6'5", 6'6".
What?
I am I tripping?
Here, hold up. Ace.
6'7". Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper, not Bailey.
Oh, yeah, Harper.
Harper 6'7".
Wow,
Man,
I
I
didn't
don't
realize he was
know.
that big
I mean, that's good, but
for a guard.
from
Yeah.
what I've seen, it's kind of just like, dude, I don't know. He's good. He's talented. I'm not gonna spend my time hating on him.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, what else for college basketball do we got?
I'd say like a lot of people might be on Memphis,
They are a good team.
but like I feel like they've kind of been a disappointment the second half of the year. They had a few good wins
Really?
early in the year, but can't really put a lot of stock in early wins because guys are new to the team. They're getting used to playing with each other. Rotations are still being messed around with, where now guys know what their role is and what their responsibility is. So I feel like that Memphis team could be like they're right now projected an 8 seed. Like I could see a lot of people picking them, and I wouldn't. I would kind of steer away. Uh, Wisconsin, that's a team that's kind of been coming on the second half of the year. I like what they're doing in the Big Ten, so I keep an eye on Wisconsin. Um, I forget. Let's see. Their best player is like they got this guy named John Tonji, and he's averages 19 a game. So then they also got another guard who averages 16. So these guys can, if either of these two guys are cooking, they always have a chance, you know?
That's
Um,
true.
let's see. I'm just gonna keep going down the bracket here. St. John's another team that, they'll win the first few games, but I wouldn't pick them to go super far. Patino and everyone. I feel like that would be a really popular pick, with just the whole Patino thing. I feel like it's a trap.
The
I don't know.
offensive side of the ball, like they've kind of reached their ceiling.
Yeah, they've won like all these close games. They won at Marquette on a buzzer beater in overtime. So I mean, they've had a lot of things go their way this year, but I'd be surprised if, anything can happen in March. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised if it goes the other guy's way this time.
right. I mean, there's some more teams too. Tennessee, Michigan State, Clemson, Iowa State, Louisville, Texas Tech. Iowa State's really good.
Yeah,
Maryland, A&M.
like if I had to pick, I'd probably picking Big 12 teams over Big 10.
Yeah, I agree.
I would stay away from like Oregon. They're
Yeah, oh yeah,
projected
no.
5 seed right now. Oregon's like they've had a lot of bad losses this year. They have trouble putting the ball in the basket. So, I mean, defensive teams are good, but then it depends who you play. Like if you get a good high-powered offense, it might just be the wrong day.
That's true. That's
So,
very true.
I think this UC San Diego, they are a mid-major to definitely look out for.
Okay.
They're here, let me pull up their record. Yeah, 28-4 this year. So One of those losses was to San Diego State. The other one was UC Irvine, which is another team you have to look out for.
Hmm.
Let's see. Let's see what their record is. They were 27-5. So, and they had like really good season. I don't know if they're gonna get in because they lost in their champ or no, that's still going on. So a lot of people are arguing, those teams, that conference, like the Big West, could have two mid majors in it, which is kind of wild. Um, Indiana, like Indiana on the bubble. I don't think they'll be in.
I don't think so. I've never been an Indiana guy.
Yeah, I would stay away from San Diego State this year. I feel like that's a kind of a big trap. Like a few seasons ago, they had that big run. I feel like, yeah, they're kind of just a little like people might be holding on to that still.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Kansas,
I
uh,
mean, they beat Arizona, but
yeah, I would not pick them to go super far. Maybe they'll win a round or two, but definitely on upset watch for Kansas, especially with how people are going at what's his name there? The center.
let me see.
Dickinson, Hunter Dickinson.
Yes.
Yeah, they love getting right after him. I wouldn't be surprised if the pressure is just too much and they've kind of had a disappointing second half. I wouldn't be surprised if you see
Anything to
them.
say about Michigan?
Yeah, they score a lot of points. So, I mean, they also let up a lot of points. So that's going to be a high scoring game. So, it just depends who their games can be shootouts. So I would pick Michigan over like strong defensive teams because I just feel like they can't score enough to keep up with them.
I
So
feel you.
that's definitely one of the better teams, like Wisconsin, Michigan in the Big Ten. Definitely. Um, a big popular pick, I think, this year for right now they're a 10 seed, Utah State. They had like a great season. They absolutely ran through their conference in the Mountain West, 25-6. Um, at one point they were like 20-1, I think, and they lost a few towards the end of the season here. So I think this is a team that struggles to score, and right now they're matched up against Mizzou, which like I think Mizzou would blow them out.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to be taking most SEC teams in this. How can't you?
Yeah. You can't not. I mean,
New Mexico, I don't know if you've watched any of them.
yeah, they're decent. I mean,
Yeah, they got a solid squad, so that's a big ups. That could be upset material. So
Colorado, could they do anything?
no, I don't think so. I don't think
Okay.
they're gonna be a tournament team. They kind of making a run in their conference tournament right now. So they're one of the teams that would have to win the whole tournament to like get in.
Yeah, they're down 5 to Houston right now at half.
Okay.
So I mean, they're putting up a good performance, but it would be a very tough run for them.
Yeah. Let's see what that Marquette score. I wouldn't pick Marquette to make it out the second round. Right now they're kind of in a dogfight with Xavier. Xavier's on the bubble. So that
Mm.
um let's see. UConn, feel like even though it's been a down year for them,
All of a sudden,
I feel like they go on a run. Like with that Dan Hurley, and just as much as I don't like them, I feel
but
like they can put it
I'm not
together.
a fan either, but they're playing their best basketball when it matters the most. They beat Marquette. They've won their last four. They've got the experience. They're not a team you want to play. They're not a
No,
team you're like, oh, I want to play UConn. I want to draw UConn.
they're going to be an 8 seed right now projected. So imagine like Florida's the 1 seed right now in this bracket I'm looking at. So imagine you get like you're Florida and you get UConn round two. You're like, come on.
Yeah, dude. You don't want
That's
that.
Yeah, that's a really tough draw. Um, how much time we got here? 4 minutes. All right, we'll try to wrap this up here.
You want to just finish this out with college and then do like a 10-minute NFL thing after?
Yeah, sure.
That.
And let's see. I guess Vanderbilt, they're projected 10 seed right now. lose, so I don't know if they're going to be in it, but they could be. That's a frisky team. They've had a lot of upsets this year, so
Yeah.
wouldn't be shocked.
How about Villanova? They're playing UConn tonight.
Uh,
I don't
yeah,
think they're gonna do anything, but I mean,
that's one of
yeah.
those teams I think that has to win their tournament to get in. They haven't
Yeah.
been good enough outside of their, conference. Arkansas Arkansas just lost. You see that?
No.
They
Did
lost
they?
first round, yeah, with
No
Coach.
way.
So they were on the bubble, so I wouldn't be shocked if you see Arkansas fall out now. Like
Wow. Yeah.
Coach Cal's
That's
first year in
that's
Arkansas is already ended.
that's crazy. Wow.
So
Did
yeah,
not expect that, but yeah, dude. I mean, Ole
yeah.
Miss now.
I'm looking at Louisville, uh, projected 7 seed. That's a frisky squad. ACC hasn't been super strong, but they have some good ones. I think they might have beaten Duke. No, no, I don't think they did. But that Clemson, Louisville, Duke. If Duke's healthy, those are all three good teams from the ACC, and the rest of the ACC was weak, but I think those are good teams.
I completely agree. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm looking for another eight. Yeah, I don't think anybody else is coming out of that conference.
yeah, we're still like so far out. I mean, so much could change in the next few days when we're
Right.
talking about this. So,
Hey, it's March, dude. Expect the unexpected.
exactly. So, like it looks like right now, Merrimack would not be a playing game though. They would be 16 right now, but not the play-in. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
uh,
I mean, I think it's looking up. I mean, Mount St. Mary's and Marist, whoever wins that, it's going to be a tough draw. And then we got to get by Quinnipiac. So it's not
yeah,
going to be easy. Never
no,
thought it was going to be, but that's what we're going to have to do.
yeah.
Um,
As Menzies out, never a doubt.
Never doubt. We're playing our best basketball when it matters the most. We had some runs early in the season where it was like, okay, this is looking good. There's also some points where like, I don't know, what are the chances? We've
Yeah,
gotten hot late. We beat Marist, we beat Quinnipiac, we just beat Sacred Heart. That was a tough draw in the first round. That's not an easy first round matchup,
no, that very difficult. You knew that game was going to be super close. So
and it couldn't have been closer.
yeah,
But there was times in the game where we were the better team. We were the better team last night. We just had
yeah,
a few runs. We went
won
scoreless
these
for three
droughts.
minutes, like three times, four times. That can't be happening. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't got too much else to say about that.
No, I don't either. So
All right. Let me
all right,
see.
we'll get
If
NFL free agency.
All right. So unfortunately, our recording of the NFL segment got deleted. So I'm just gonna pick this up on myself. Let's see. So yeah, just talking about some NFL free agency, some pre-draft stuff. Starting it off with the Cowboys. We signed Cavonte Turpin to an extension, which I like because I think they need to use him more. He's a wide receiver three. CeeDee Lamb could be the wide receiver one, but we need another deep threat. We need another big guy. DK would have been a good guy. Not paying him a second, not paying him $30 million a year. Whether it's Luther Burden, Ted McMillan, Matthew Golden, I don't know. We need a receiver, and it needs to be a deep threat because Dak really misses that prime Michael Gallup since he's got injured, since his career's kind of been derailed. Dak's really been missing that. However, I wouldn't mind offensive line. We need a younger running back. We let Rico Dowdle walk for Javonte Williams, who has already torn his ACL. I don't like that. I think Dowdle would have been really good next to a young guy out of the draft. But that's not what we did. We also need linebacker. We also need, some offensive line we could touch up on. We also need a corner with Trayvon Diggs only getting injured more, with Trayvon Diggs only getting older and more injured. Deron Bland, I mean, he's good, but he gets banged up. We lost to Marcus Lawrence, although we did sign Osa Odigizua. We need another pass rusher opposite Micah Parsons, and we need to lock up Micah Parsons. So, as you can see, the Cowboys need a lot. And moving on, not completely, but it amazes me that teams like the Cowboys and the Bengals don't understand. Just pay your star players. Don't let them get more expensive. You're gonna sign them anyway. Don't regret it. I mean, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Trey Hendrickson. Higgins is on a franchise tag. Chase is yet to be paid, and Hendrickson is gonna go. Mike Brown He's cheap, he's poor out of all the owners in the NFL. But like, why don't you just pay him? I mean, you've let Jamar Chase get so expensive when you could have paid him for less than Justin Jefferson made. Now you got to pay him even more than Justin Jefferson made. And Jerry Jones, why don't you just pay your generational pass rusher? He's a game breaker at a top two most important position in football. When I say game breaker, I'm not exaggerating. You don't lose that guy. You could get first round picks for him. I don't care. But regardless, that's not even the conversation I'm trying to have. Pay him. He's only gotten more expensive by the year that you 2 years ago we could have paid him. Last year we could have paid him. Nope, he's only more expensive now. And also like Chase, I don't know why he played last year. He took a huge risk. He owes nothing to the Bengals, who have shown nothing but disrespect to him, T, and Trey by refusing to pay them. I don't get it. The Seahawks, Sam Darnold, he is headed to Seattle. He's leaving Minnesota, where he had the best receiver in the game, the best second receiver in football, a top five play caller in the NFL, top three, and a solid offensive line and running game. He's going to the Seahawks, who have the worst interior offensive line in football. Charles Cross is a good tackle, but other than that, it's possibly the worst offensive line in the league. Plus, Cross is banged up all the time. Lockett retired. DK traded, so now their second receiver behind Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's good, is Jake Bobo. You need a deep threat. It's almost like DK would have fit that. But I mean, I get getting a second, not paying him. But you got to get a deep threat next to Jackson Smith and Jigba. And you do have Kenneth Walker, but again, this is a horrible offensive line. I do have some confidence in Kubiak and the coaching staff, but this is an unproven unit, and damn sure not Kevin O'Connell. Seattle did get 6 years younger at quarterback, and they got a decent deal, but I just don't love the ceiling. This is a move that keeps you in mediocrity. Mediocrity. The Bears, they did exactly what they needed. I can't hate. They needed offensive line help to protect Caleb Williams and open up the run game. That's exactly what they did. They had two tackles, already good. They got Jackson, the guard from the Rams. They got Tooney, an elite guard, and center Drew Dalman from the Falcons. So three new starting linemen on that interior next to the already two good tackles. The defense is really damn good. Let's see what they do to fill out the rest of their roster. They have a first round pick and they need a running back and a third receiver. And they could always add to that offensive line. Just get younger, just get better. Ben Johnson's success also has always come with an elite offensive line. Detroit had that elite unit up front, so this is important for him and Caleb to find that success that they really want to have. Offensive line, I love it. Milton Williams to the Patriots, Carlton Davis to the Patriots. Milton a little bit overpaid. He only played a limited amount of snaps for Philly, and he played with Jalen Carter, who's always getting double teamed. So, but he's mid-20s, plays an important position, has upside. If anybody is getting overpaid, you want it to be that guy. And I think Carlton Davis is a good signing, a good cornerback too, next to your franchise corner in Christian Gonzalez. All of a sudden, this is a pretty good defense with Vrabel at the helm, with guys like Keon White being upside, having upside. Maybe they draft a pass rusher at some point, but they need a tackle and a receiver one, so we'll see. I do like the receiving room outside of the receiver one. Bourne, Butte are, a little bit more experienced, but Baker and Polk, hope can step in and start. Douglas is a great slot. Henry's a great tight end. But I do think they need offensive line help more than anything. They do need a receiver after that. And then you could use a younger running back. But I trust Vrabel. He brought the Titans to an AFC championship maybe twice, I believe. Regardless, he brought playoff success to that organization. Tunsil, they got a few picks out of him. I like it for the Commanders. They get a good left tackle for a win now team with an elite quarterback on a rookie deal, and they needed to get better at offensive line. It's hard to find left tackles that talented. I like it for Houston also though, because while Tunsil is good, he leads the league in penalties, he makes a lot of money, and doesn't bring a ton of intangibles, and you get a ton of draft capital to get younger and better along the entire offensive line. So, I mean, you didn't have a good offensive line with him, so you get younger, you get some draft capital, you free up some money. I like it for Houston. You got to get younger and you got to get better along the entire offensive line, not just one position. And it clearly wasn't working, so you get some draft capital. I like it. Tunsil, he really does lead the league in penalties. That sets your offense back. He gets hurt sometimes. He was tough in the locker room, I heard. I like it for both teams. You get a win now left tackle for the Commanders, though. And for the Commanders, I mean, you bring in Debo Samuel next to McLaurin. You got Noah Brown. You got Luke McCaffrey. I think it could be a lot worse. I do think you want to get younger at you know, I do think you want to get younger at running back. Brian Robinson Jr. and Eckler, they're bringing them back. I think you could stand to bring in a younger guy in the draft. However, you do need defensive picks. You do need to even bolster up that offensive line a little bit. So the Commanders are there, but they need to play their cards right in the draft if they want to really compete for a Super Bowl because they got holes, even though they are close. I like the Packers spending money on offensive line. You want your young quarterback to succeed and improve. What do? You build a great offensive line to protect him, give him time in the pocket, open up the run game. It's the key to success. Build a good offensive line, especially if you have a young quarterback. That's what the Bears are doing. That's what the Texans need to do. Now Green Bay has Rasheed Walker, Elton Jenkins, Aaron Banks, and Zach Tom. That's a really solid offensive line. Now you just need a center because you lost Josh Myers to free agency, but you also have Sean Ryan. I think one of those guys can plug and play center. But I do think you need to touch up on it, get some depth, get younger along the offensive line in the draft. But you also need a pass rusher. That was their need. You also need a corner to replace Jair Alexander at this point. So yeah, maybe even upgrade at receiver. Maybe you go get a one if you don't think Dobbs or Reed can really emerge as that. Because they do have four good guys along with Wicks and Watson, and they even have some other guys. I'm not going to get into that. But they do have, a solid receiving group, a good receiving group, but they do kind of lack that one. So I wonder if they go get a one. I don't know who it is. I don't know. Green Bay's not the kind of team to do that though. So maybe you draft edge rusher and you draft a corner maybe, and you bolster up the O line even more. I think that's it. The Jags, they made two signings that I don't like or don't love, but they made a few moves I do like. First, they gave Diami Brown 10 million. He has played 15 games plus every single year in his 4-year career and has yet to reach 800 career receiving yards. He also only has 4 career touchdowns. 165, 143, 163, 308. He doesn't have 800 career total receiving yards. You're gonna let Christian Kirk go to give that guy 10 mil? They also paid Jordan Lewis, a 30-year-old slot corner, 10 million a year for 3 years. As a Cowboys fan, all I'll say is his best days are behind him. And you just don't pay 30-year-old corners who aren't even amazing to begin with. But what I do like is they just signed guard Patrick McCarry and center Robert Hainsey. Those are two huge moves to add to an O-line where you already have Walker Little at left tackle. And you still have the fifth overall pick where you could do absolutely anything. Maybe add to your defense, which I actually really like with the right coaching. You could also go offense, whether it's running back, if you think ETN's washed, a receiver next to Brian Thomas and Dammy Brown. You could also go more offensive line, which is always smart. You could also trade down. Either way, I really like the O-line signings. Cooper Kupp, he could put so many teams over the edge. Cardinals, Bills, Ravens, Bears. It doesn't stop there. Almost every single team in the league should be looking to sign him. If you're the Cardinals, you need another receiver next to Marvin Harrison Jr. to give Kyler Murray some success. I think maybe that could be a top five offense. The way they run the ball, the way they have some talent up on that offensive line. Trey McBride, MHJ, Kyler Murray. It's not a bad base. The Ravens just signed D-Hop. I think they really need another receiver. You're just gonna keep blaming things on Lamar Jackson when your receiving group was Zay Flowers, Deontay Johnson, Nelson Aguilar, Rashad Bateman, four of the most infamous dropping, unreliable receivers in the NFL. You can't just keep blaming it on Lamar when you know you need to pass to victory in the playoffs, and Lamar hasn't done it, but I mean he's had a terrible receiving group. Let's just be real. What else? The Bills, Josh Palmer, a solid receiver. NFL nerds like me know he's a really good guy you want. But is he one of the starting three with Shakir and Keon Coleman? I don't know if I love that. You're really banking on a Keon Coleman breakout. And Josh Allen, he can't be too happy with that. Let's see what else. The Commanders, they get rid of a great DT in Josh Allen for Javon Kinlaw, who registered 5 QB hits in 17 games. Outside of the top 100 in pressures. You give him 3 years, 45 million, rather than just paying Jonathan Allen, who's been great. I know there's familiarity with GM Adam Peters from their time in San Francisco together, but I simply just don't love this. I don't love Kinlaw. I don't think he's that good. But the Commanders, they're in win now mode regardless. They got McLaurin, Debo. I talked about this. I think they could use another young running back. Maybe even another wide receiver, although they need defensive pieces. They could even bolster up the old line even more. What else? That's about it. Justin Fields, he's such a jet. I mean, he's such a jet. He's not that great. The advanced stats aren't good. The film leaves you wanting a lot more. He can't pass the ball downfield effectively, despite his physical talent being off the charts. I mean, I guess the critics who questioned his processing coming out of college and were called racist for it were right. The Bears gave him away for a sixth because they couldn't get a fifth, if you remember that. And somehow, after getting benched in his second opportunity, he gets a bag. I'm a Fields fan. I've always loved him out of Ohio State. I'm an Ohio State guy. With Fields, though, I've always said, what are you working on in the offseason? Because he's not particularly getting better at what he needs to get better at and as a player overall. Like, it's the processing, it's the downfield passing ability consistently. The Steelers did kind of make it easy on him, and he still couldn't pass downfield very well. So that's the thing. But there is good. Um, the Steelers, while they were great defensively, while they do have great coaching, they did make it easier for Fields. They were kind of like, all right, you have the arm, just fit the ball into tight windows, just get it out efficiently, get it quick, use your athleticism a little bit, use your arm. But it wasn't like it's a perfect situation. The receiver talent outside of Pickens was nowhere near premier. The offensive line wasn't amazing, and the running game wasn't very good. Like Najee Harris, there's a reason they let him walk. I think there's upside here with Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. The offensive line has talent. The defense has talent. If they can continue to improve the offensive line, add another receiver next to Garrett Wilson, I think with Tanner Engstrand, Ben Johnson's passing game coordinator, coming from Detroit with Aaron Glenn to be the offensive coordinator in New York, I think, if he can get the ground game going with Breece and Fields' legs, that opens up the field for Fields to work with Garrett Wilson, his former college teammate. But yeah, it's the same thing. Can Fields, you know, develop as a downfield passer? He's got all the talent in the world. But can he get the mental side of the game? Can he get the processing side of the game down? I don't know. That's what it is. But since the Jets brought in Aaron Glenn as the head coach, they take Ben Johnson's top, you know, assistant. He's the offensive coordinator. Who else do you want? Who else would you rather take a chance on? That's great for Fields. I think that about does it. I mean, I like what the Giants have done, but it's the same thing. They need a quarterback and they need offensive line. They screwed Daniel Jones by, you know, horrible continuity among the offensive line and just not very good play. And Daniel Jones wasn't the greatest either. So, I mean, I kind of like Shitter. Maybe he's an option at three if you can get the offensive line going. They have a good defense. They have Malik Neighbors. They have Wan'Dale Robinson. They have talent. Tracy. They're talented. But it's the pass protection. It's the quarterback. The Dolphins, they need offensive line. They're not going to have any success until they build that offensive line. Give Tua some time. You're not going to win just firing the ball out in 2 seconds every time. You're not going to be able to run the ball without a good offensive line. You're not going to be able to win without a good running game. The Dolphins aren't going to win until they build a good offensive line for Tua. The Chargers, they need a receiver in the first round of the draft. They also need interior offensive line help. What else? I don't think much. Yeah. Thank you everybody for listening. We'll see where Aaron Rodgers lands. I mean, yeah, I think that's about it. Peace.